Hello friends, welcome back to a new video, that is MCQs on Mendelian genetics, and this is the part 3 of this series of videos on Mendelian genetics. So the first question of this video, that is the phenomenon of independent assortment refers to option A, expression at the same stage of development, or option B, unlinked transmission of genes in crosses resulting from being located on different chromosomes, or option C, that is association of an RNA and a protein implying related function, or option D, independent location of genes from each other in a interface cell. So the right answer about the independent assortment is option B, that is unlinked transmission of genes in crosses resulting from being located on a different chromosomes. So the phenomenon of independent assortment refers to unlinked transmission of genes in crosses resulting from being located on different chromosomes. So let's move on to question number 42. That is, which of the following is a mismatch? So options are option A, phenotypic F2 ratio of 1:4 is to 6 is to 4 is to 1 is a polygenic inheritance, or option B, that is phenotypic F2 ratio of 9:3:4, it's a recessive epistasis, or option C, phenotypic F2 ratio of 1:2:1 is a codominance, or phenotypic F2 ratio of 3:1 is a partial dominance. So which one is mismatch? So the right one is option D, that is phenotypic F2 ratio of 3:1 is a partial dominance. So this is the mismatch. So other three options are the perfect match. The only mismatch is the option D, that is phenotypic F2 ratio of 3:1 is a partial dominance. Okay. So let's move on to question number 43. That is Mendel's law of segregation as applied to the behavior of chromosomes in meiosis means that option A, pairing of homologs will convert one allele into the other, leading to separation of the types, or option B, alleles of a gene separate from each other when homologs separate in meiosis 1, or option C, that is genes on the same chromosome will show 50% recombination, and option D, alleles of a gene will be linked and passed on together through meiosis. So the right one about the Mendel's law of segregation is option B, that is alleles of a gene separate from each other when homologs separate in meiosis 1. So this is Mendel's law of segregation in terms of to the behavior of chromosomes in meiosis. Okay, so let's move on to question number 44. So in Drosophila melanogaster males, homologous chromosomes pair and segregate during meiosis, but crossing over doesn't occur. Okay, so at which phase or at which stage of meiosis does segregation of two alleles of a gene takes place in this individual? So the right and so the options are option A is zygote phase, option B is diakinesis phase, option C anaphase 1, option D anaphase 2. So which one is the correct? So which at which stage of meiosis does segregation of two alleles of a gene takes place in the individual? So the right one is option C, that is anaphase 1. So is anaphase 1 stage of meiosis, segregation of two alleles of a gene takes place. Okay, so let's move on to question number 45. That is pseudodominance may be observed in heterozygotes for option A for a deletion, option B for a duplication, option C for a reciprocal translocation, or option D for more than one of the above. So the right one is option A, that is for a deletion. So pseudodominance may be observed in heterozygotes for a deletion. Okay, so let's move on to question number 46. That is which of the following is true? So here four statements are given P, Q, R and S. So you have to choose which one is the right statement. So statement P is physical map unit is centimorgan. Statement Q is physical mapping is done using restriction enzymes, and statement R is physical maps helps during genome sequencing projects, and the last option or last statement is physical maps are also called genetic maps. So the options are option A, P only is the correct one, or option B, R only, option C, Q and R, or option D, P, R and S is the correct one. So the right answer is option C, that is Q and R statement is the right one. So physical mapping is done using restriction enzymes and physical maps help during genome sequencing projects. Okay, so this two statement is correct one. Okay, so let's move on to next question, that is question number 47. So which of the following is not true about autosomal dominant traits? So the options are option A, every affected person should have at least one affected parent. Option B, males and females should be often equally affected. Option C, an affected person has a 50% chance of transmitting the dominant allele to each offspring. Or option D, all the daughters of an affected male will be affected but none of the sons. So the option, so which one is the correct one? So the right answer is option D, that is all the daughters of an affected male will be affected but none of the sons. So this option is not true about autosomal dominant traits. Okay, so next question देखेंगे. Next is question number 48. It is multifactorial traits are, statement P is multifactorial traits are affected by both genetic and environmental factors, or multifactorial traits are continuous. And next is multifactorial traits vary over a continuous range of measurements. And the last one, that is multifactorial traits are affected by environmental factors such as penetrance and expressivity. So the options are option A, P and Q is the right one, option B, Q, R and S is the right one, or option C, P, R, S is the right one, or option D, P, Q, R, S, all are correct. So the right answer is option D, that is P, Q, R and S all are correct statement about multifactorial traits. Okay, so let's move on to next question, that is question number 49. So hybrids are hybrids or which are produced by in vitro fusion of gametes, that is the option A. Option B, hybrids are hybrids with nuclear genomes of two, or hybrids are hybrids with full nuclear genome of one and partial nuclear genome of other parent, or they are hybrids with nuclear genome of one and cytoplasmic genome of the other parent. So the right one is option D, that is hybrids are hybrids with nuclear genome of one and cytoplasmic genome of the other parent. Okay, so this is the right one. So next question देखेंगे. Next is question number 50. So a yellow and round seeded pea plant is crossed with green and wrinkle seeded pea plant, and the F1 of this cross is back crossed to the homozygous recessive parent. So the progeny will appear in the ratio of option A 9 is to 3 is to 1, option B 1 is to 1 is to 1 is to 1, or option C 9 is to 3 is to 4, or option D 12 is to 3 is to 1. So which one is the right option? That is option B is the right one. So 1 is to 1 is to 1 is to 1 is the right answer. So yellow and round shaded pea plant is crossed with a green and wrinkled shaded pea plant, and the F1 of this cross is back crossed to the homozygous recessive parent. So the progeny will appear in the ratio of 1 is to 1 is to 1 is to 1. Okay. So next question देखेंगे. Next is in a cross between two individuals with the genotypes capital S small a, capital B, small c, capital D, small d, capital E, small e, capital F, small f, and capital S small a, capital B, capital C, capital D, small f, small f. The probability that an offspring will be heterozygous at all these loci is option A 0, option B 1 is to 16, option C 1 by 32, option D 1 by 64. So the right one is option C, that is 1 by 32. So if we cross this genotype, this one and this one, then the probability that an offspring will be heterozygous at all these loci is 1 by 32. Okay, so this is the right one. So next one is albinism is a recessive human trait. So if a normal couple produces an albino child, what is the probability that their next child will be albino? So the options are option A 1 by 4, option B 1 by 8, option C 1 by 16, option D 1 by 64. So the right one is option A, that is 1 by 4. So if a normal couple produces an albino child, what is the probability that their next child will be albino? That is 1 by 4. Okay, so next is when a man with hypertrichosis marries a normal woman, what percentage of their sons would be expected to have hairy ears? And the options are option A 50%, option B 100%, option C 0%, option D 25%, and the right one is option B, that is 100%. So when a man with hypertrichosis marries a woman, normal woman, what percentage of these sons would be expected to have hairy ears? That is 100%. Okay, so let's move on to question number 54. That is, why would you predict that half of the human babies born will be male and half will be female? And the options are option A, because of the segregation of the X and Y chromosomes during male meiosis, or option B, because of the segregation of the X chromosomes during female meiosis, or option C, because all eggs contain an X chromosome, or option D, because on average one half of all eggs produce females. So the right one is option A, that is because of the segregation of the X and Y chromosomes during male meiosis. So why would you predict that the half of the human babies born will be male and half will be female? That is because of the segregation of the X and Y chromosomes during male meiosis. Okay. So next is question number 55. So a person with one allele for cystic fibrosis is called a carrier, capital C small c, of the disease. So if the mother is a carrier of the disease and the father is homozygous dominant, so what are the chances that their child will be a carrier of cystic fibrosis? So the options are option A 25%, option B 50%, option C 75%, option D 100%. So the right one is option B, that is 50%. So if the mother is a carrier of the disease and the father is homozygous dominant, what are the chances that their child will be a carrier of the cystic fibrosis? That is 50%. Okay, so let's move on to question number 56. It is, which of the following is or are not features of quantitative trait? And the options are and the statements are, that is, the first one is characters of degree or continuous variation. Then the statement R is polygenic control, or statement S is discontinuous variation. And the options are option P and S is not the features of quantitative trait, or option B, Q and R is not the feature of quantitative trait, or option C, that is only S is not the quantitative trait, or option D, that is R and S is not the quantitative trait. So the right answer is option C, that is only S is not the quantitative trait. So discontinuous variation is not a quantitative trait. Okay, so let's move on to question number 57. It is woman who is heterozygous for both phenylketonuria mutation and for X-linked hemophilia mutation has a child with a phenotypically normal man who is also heterozygous for a phenylketonuria mutation. So what is the probability that the child will be affected by both? And the right answer and the options are option A 1 by 8, option B 1 by 4, option C 1 by 16, option D 3 by 8, and the right one is option C, that is 1 by 16. So a woman who is heterozygous for both phenylketonuria mutation and for X-linked hemophilia mutation has a child with a phenotypically normal man who is also heterozygous for a phenylketonuria mutation. So what is the probability that the child will be affected by both? And the option is correct is 1 by 16 is the chances. Okay, so let's move on to question number 58. It is which one of the following are correct? So the statement P is classical Mendelian traits are quantitative in nature. Statement Q is qualitative traits show discontinuous variation, and the statement R is qualitative traits are polygenic traits, and statement S is qualitative traits are referred to as metric traits. So the options are which one is the correct? So option A is P and Q is the correct. Option B, P and S is correct. Option C, P and R is correct. Or option D, R and S is correct. So the right one is option A. That is P and Q is the correct one. So P, that is classical Mendelian traits are qualitative in nature, and Q, that is qualitative traits show discontinuous variation. These two statements are correct one. Okay, so the next is question number 59. That is in a plant height varies from 6 to 36 centimeter. So when 6 centimeter and 36 centimeter plants were crossed, all F1 plants were 21 centimeter. So in the F2 generation, a continuous range of heights was observed. So most were around 21 centimeter, and three of 200 were 6 centimeter. So find out how many gene pairs are involved in this mode of inheritance. And the options are option A 3, option B 4, option C 2, option D 5. So the right one is option A, that is 3 gene pairs are involved in this mode of inheritance. Okay, so this is the question number 59, and now let's move on to question number 60, that is the last question of this video. So which of the following is or are correct about sex linked recessive inheritance? And the statements are, statement P is most affected individuals are male. Statement Q is affected females come from affected fathers and affected or carrier mothers. Okay, and the statement R is the sons of affected females should be affected, and the statement S is the trait does not skip generations. So which one is the correct one? So options are option A, P and S statement is correct. Option B, P, Q and R statement is correct. Option C, Q, R and S statement is correct. Or option D, P, Q, R, S all statements are correct. So the correct answer is option B, that is P, Q and R is correct one. So P, Q and R is the correct one. So The sex-linked recessive inheritance is most affected individuals are male. Affected females come from affected fathers and affected or carrier mothers, and the sons are affected females should be affected. Sons of affected females should be affected. Okay, so this is the all 20 questions of this part 3 video of Mendelian genetics. Okay, so thank you for watching this video.